Hello and welcome, I'm Joshua Barnes and you're watching NewsX World. Let's first take a look at our top stories. At least 26 tourists have been killed in a terrorist attack in Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir, India. Senior officers say that at least 4 gunmen opened fire at close range, injuring dozens more. A manhunt is underway while the attack has been claimed by the Resistance Front. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has returned early from his state visit to Saudi following the attack in Kashmir. Before leaving, several MOUs were signed. Ukrainian allies will be meeting in London to discuss the ongoing conflict later today, though US Secretary of State Marco Rubio will not be present. This comes as Zelensky says he is ready for direct talks with Russia, but only after a ceasefire is agreed. Meanwhile, US envoy Steve Witkoff is heading to Moscow this week for talks with President Vladimir Putin over peace in the war with Ukraine. The meeting comes after President Trump threatened to pull out of negotiations, while Russia reports blasts at a military depot near Moscow. Russian President Vladimir Putin says that talks have been held with the Sultan of Oman over Iran's nuclear talks. A third round of Iran-US nuclear negotiations will take place in Oman on Saturday, while China has confirmed that Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi will be visiting for talks today. Further Israeli military strikes have been reported in Gaza, with 10 killed in an attack on a school-turned-shelter, according to local media. Meanwhile, a Hamas delegation is headed to Cairo to discuss a new ceasefire proposal. Yemen's Houthi rebels have launched a missile at northern Israel, with Israel's military saying that it was most likely intercepted. The missile attack comes as US strikes on the Iran-backed group continue over attacks by the Houthis on crucial Red Sea shipping. Thousands of people have paid their respect to Pope Francis ahead of his body being moved to St. Peter's Basilica today. Donald Trump and dozens of other world leaders will attend his funeral on Saturday. We start with our top story this hour, and a deadly terror attack in Kashmir has claimed the lives of at least 26 people. Gunmen opened fire on tourists at a popular hotspot, marking India's deadliest civilian assault since the year 2000. Indian security forces have launched a massive manhunt focusing on bringing those responsible to justice. Prime Minister Narendra Modi condemned the heinous act and vowed swift action. Modi, who cut his state visit to Saudi Arabia short, met with top security officials upon his return. Witnesses describe seeing bodies lying on the ground, while some attackers spared women. Authorities have not released an official toll, but security sources confirm the devastating loss of life. Intelligence sources indicate that 4 terrorists were responsible for the Pahalgam terror attack. 2 Kashmiri terrorists and 2 Pakistani terrorists were reportedly involved, with body cameras mounted on them during the assault. Designated terror group Lashkar-e-Taiba's TRF have been identified as the group responsible for the attack. The hunt for the attackers continues, with all efforts focused on ensuring they are held accountable. We're bringing you some more updates on this terrorist attack, and global leaders have reacted with outrage following the deadly attack in Kashmir that killed at least 26 people. US President Donald Trump expressed full support for India, calling the attack deeply disturbing and standing firm against terrorism. Vice President J.D. Vance, currently in India, also offered condolences. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman voiced support, and Russian President Vladimir Putin condemned the attack as a brutal crime, calling for justice. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also condemned the assault, expressing solidarity with India. We're bringing you some more breaking developments on this terror attack. Indian Home Minister Amit Shah has arrived at the site of the attacks in Pahalgam. Shah had travelled to Srinagar, Kashmir's largest city, on Tuesday evening to hold an emergency security meeting. Earlier in the day, Home Minister Amit Shah had paid tribute to the victims of yesterday's attack. Well, in further updates, there is tight security outside of the police control room in Srinagar, where the bodies of the victims of the Pahalgam attack have been kept. Journalists and media personnel are not being allowed inside of the building. The families of the victims, along with the bodies, are being brought out in buses and ambulances. They are being transferred to the airport, from where they will be flown out to the home cities of those who have died. Well, in a response, Pakistan's foreign ministry have given their first official reaction on the terror attack. In a statement, a foreign ministry spokesperson expressed condolences to the victims of the attack and said it was concerned at the loss of tourists' lives. The spokesperson also wished the injured a speedy recovery. It's not just the Home Minister. Indian Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has cut short her official visit to the United States following the attack. Sitharaman condemned the attack, saying there are no words to express grief. The Finance Minister was on an 11-day trip to the US and Peru to participate in meetings of the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank and the G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meeting. She is set to arrive in India shortly. Well, following this deadly terrorist attack, protests have erupted in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam and Baramulla cities on Tuesday, following a deadly terror attack that has killed, as we've mentioned, at least 26 people. Some protesters chanted anti-Pakistan slogans, while others demanded the resignation of India's Home Minister Amit Shah. Well, joining us to discuss all of these updates and the attack itself is Brian Thomas, a correspondent with NewsX, who's joining us from Srinagar. Brian, thank you very much for being here with us at this extremely difficult point. We've heard of protests, but can you first bring us back to this attack and what the feeling is currently like amongst people who are where you are in Srinagar?
Well, definitely. I'll show you the visuals also. You get an understanding of the fact that we are outside the very Lal Chowk. This is a very iconic Lal Chowk. As you can see, the visuals of several protesters. They are coming and marking this day today as a black day. You can see black flags, black saffrons, all being worn. They have placards over there. The placards have been put out there. Different types of placards have been put out to show solidarity for the people who lost their lives. Unfortunately, there have been 26 people who lost their lives and 17 have been injured. We were just, before this, we were outside the PCR where the mortal remains were there. The Home Minister, the Lieutenant Governor, the Chief Minister Omar Abdullah and the DG were there also to take cognizance of the situation. A wreath-laying ceremony was also taken place and many mortal remains were also taken back with their families to the airport, and their different places would be taken out. Now, very importantly, a very important situation has taken place yesterday where tourists were attacked and unfortunately 26 people lost their lives. Even in 11 years, for the first time, a Prime Minister had to cut short a trip. The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, cut short his trip from Saudi and implaned towards India, and then he reached Delhi in the morning, took cognizance of the situation. The Home Minister of India, Amit Shah, was also there. From yesterday, he was taking high-level meetings as well, and you can see these visuals also the barricading, the security arrangements have been on place. You can see the Kashmir police, you can see the CRPFs all being deployed, and also very importantly, many foreign leaders also condemn this very attack. You talk about Donald Trump, you talk about Putin, you talk about Giorgia Meloni, you talk about US ministry, the French government also condemned the attack. The German government also condemned the attack, stating the responsible parties must be identified and held accountable. Prime Minister Scott Morrison also condemned the heinous terrorist attack. Even Chinese government expressed deep shock over the attack. Even Ibrahim Mohammed Soli strongly condemned this attack. You can see these visuals also where the people are calling this day as Black Day. They have even placards hold which shows it's written, "We mourn the innocent killing," and all around this place, which is a bustling area, which is a touristy place, they have all come shut. The entire place have been come on shut. The people, the shopkeepers, they've closed all the markets. They've come on ground to protest against the brutality that has happened against the tourists. You can see all these shops have been closed. A hartal, barricading has also been done. Entire shops have been closed. This entire day has been called off by the tourists, by the locals here. The shopkeepers, they have closed this place in and around Kashmir. The security have been beefed up, heightened at this area. Again, before I go back to you, I'll again lastly show you these visuals also from Lal Chowk, to the fact that you get an understanding, you get a perspective of the fact that you see all these police personnel, Kashmir police, they've all been deployed here, and this has been a complete high vigil. Securities have become very sensitive. The PCRs have been locked up. This entire place, which is regarded as a bustling area, a very high tourist place, all kinds of tourists come here to chill, to spend a quality time. It has all come in a halt. It feels like when you're here on ground, it feels like everything comes in a standstill. All the people from their shops, they've come down here, they've protested, they have their saffron black flags, saffron black scarves. They've all been worn to show solidarity against the attack that has happened, and they condemn this very incident, saying that this brutality needs a stop, and they are also demanding from the government to take immediate steps. The Home Minister is here since yesterday. He has gone to meet the family of the deceased. A wreath-laying ceremony was happened. He even went to the Anandnag hospital also to meet the injured ones as well. So yes, definitely the Home Minister is on ground. The Prime Minister is taking all the cognizance, all the security concerns to understand the gravitas of the situation, and all possible necessary steps are also being taken by the government itself. Yes.
Yes, Brian, very quickly before we let you go, of course, there are protests, anger certainly being felt at this attack, but is there also fear given the fact that these 4 terrorists are still at large?
Well, definitely. I'll again, attempt to show you the gravitas of the situation here on ground that we are seeing, that we are showing you. J&K traffic police are on ground. You can see a crowd also being hauled at. There's a proper crowd that is there. There's these protesters also who are all, they are all putting sloganeerings are going on. They are voicing their opinion also, the fact of the condemning this very incident that has happened. They're voicing against the incident, against the attack that has happened, and also raising concerns about these attacks that has happened. Ahead of this also, you can see security forces, the police is all on vigil. They are also trying to disperse the protesters, the crowd also, to maintain a smoother flow of traffic. You can see they're trying to disperse the crowd also. So you see the deployment of J&K police also who are here, and all the in and around Kashmir also, the securities have been heavily guarded, heavily been also put out in place to ensure that the things here becomes better than how it was.
Brian Thomas, thank you ever so much for joining us live from Srinagar in Kashmir. Of course, the situation is a difficult one. We have, of course, a situation with terrorists still at large. But let's now take a look at the major terrorist attacks that have taken place in Jammu and Kashmir since 2020. 1st of March, militants targeting the minority Sikh community. 36 people killed in that instance. This is the deadliest attack that we've had this millennium. Of course, this attack and this terrorist attack we've had since has become the deadliest. But then in July 2001, Amarnath Yatris at the Srinagar base camp in Anantnag, 13 people were also killed there, showing you the frequency of deadly terrorist attacks taking place in Jammu and Kashmir. Also in August of 2000, Amarnath pilgrims and civilians were killed at the Nunwan base camp. 32 people killed there. 1st of October 2001, the Jammu and Kashmir State Legislature Complex in Srinagar in a suicide terrorist attack. 36 people also killed in this attack as well. A large concentration of terrorist attacks around the turn of the millennium. Moving then to the 23rd of November in 2002, an IED blast in Lower Munda in South Kashmir on the Jammu-Srinagar National Highway led to 19 people being killed, notably including women and children. In 2003, the 23rd of March, terrorists massacred Kashmiri Pandits at Nandamarg village in the Pulwama district. 24 people killed, again women and children in this instance. Moving then to 2005, the 13th of June, a car laden with explosives blew up at a crowded marketplace in front of a government school in Pulwama. 13 killed, including school children. Then in June the 12th, 2006, Nepali and Bahari migrant labourers were attacked in Kulgam. 9 people killed in that instance. We had then a larger gap before a similar type attack on the 18th of September 2016. 4 Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists attacked an Indian Army brigade. Then on the 10th of July 2017, an attack on the Amarnath Yatris in Kulgam killed 8 people. 2019 as well, 14th of February, a convoy vehicle of CRPF personnel was attacked by a suicide bomber, leading to the death of 40 soldiers, notably not civilians. Like in this attack that we saw yesterday on the 22nd of April, at least 26 tourists have been killed, dozens more injured after 4 militant attackers started shooting at close range against tourists who were enjoying their time at Pahalgam. Of course, it's likened to Switzerland, the Switzerland of India. Pahalgam has been described as a tourist destination, civilian targets being hit. We have some breaking news for you now, and US Vice President J.D. Vance, accompanied with his wife Usha Vance and their children, have visited the Taj Mahal in Agra today. The family will spend 3 hours at the iconic monument before returning to Jaipur. Here we can see the Vance family taking steps up towards the Taj Mahal. Of course, J.D. Vance on the 3rd day of his 4-day state visit to India, having had a conversation with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the 1st day. But this, of course, comes in the wake of the news of Pope Francis's death, which took place on Monday. J.D. Vance was in the Vatican on Sunday, arriving with that news, and then while being in India, of course, this terrorist attack taking place in Jammu and Kashmir. So while Vance is enjoying that with his 3 children, spending time with Usha Vance, his wife, who of course has become the first second lady of US Asian descent. The trip, of course, marred with those 2 breaking developments across the world. Pope Francis's passing, of course, J.D. Vance, a devout Roman Catholic, and then the terrorist attack during his visit. We will continue to bring you all of the updates from the terror attack as we get them. The situation is continuing to develop and we will be here across all of that. We move now to Europe, and a Russian drone strike in the Ukrainian region of Dnipropetrovsk has killed at least 9 people. Governor Sergei Lysak confirmed these fatalities. The attack reportedly targeted a bus carrying workers in the city of Marganets. The number of wounded is continuing to rise. As of now, 30 people have been reported injured. The situation remains critical. On the other hand, according to reports, explosions have rocked a Russian military depot near Moscow, with blasts reported at a storage site in the Vladimir region. The Russian Ministry of Defense blamed a fire for detonating the stored ammunition. Local authorities declared a state of emergency, evacuating nearby residents. No casualties have been reported until now. Meanwhile, US presidential envoy Steve Witkoff is expected in Moscow later this week, as reported by the Kremlin. This will be Witkoff's 4th visit since Trump took office. In parallel, a new round of peace talks is scheduled in London on Wednesday, bringing together US, UK and European officials with Ukraine's representatives. Ukrainian President Zelensky said Kyiv is willing to hold direct talks with Moscow, but only if Russia agrees to a full ceasefire. This, of course, coming after Russian President Vladimir Putin, for the first time since the start of the war, signalled that his country was ready for direct discussions and direct bilateral talks with Ukraine. Zelensky has also confirmed that Ukraine is not discussing any new aid packages with the United States as of now. Let's listen to what Zelensky has said.
Ми готові до цієї стадії. Ми готові також зафіксувати, що після припинення вогню ми готові сідати в будь-якому форматі. Щоб не було ніякого глухого куту, що Україна, там вона може, то не може, там вона хоче. В будь-якому форматі. Тому що ми будемо вже вірити, що маємо результат, хоч якийсь. Зараз це допомога, яку підтримав Конгрес ще рік тому. Так і є. Про нову допомогу ми поки що з Сполученими Штатами Америки не мали можливість мати домовленість або обговорювати деталі.
We now head to the Middle East, and Israeli airstrikes have killed at least 10 people, including a child. Displaced Palestinians on Tuesday when the Jaffa school in Gaza's city's Tufa neighbourhood was hit, according to Gaza's civil defence agency. Many more are feared trapped under the rubble in the eastern part of the region, which has been declared too dangerous for rescuers to access. The attack came amid a broader wave of strikes, according to local authorities across the Hamas-run territory, with a total of 25 Palestinians killed since dawn, including 9 in Khan Yunis, 9 in Jabalia camp, 5 in Gaza City's Al-Shati camp, and 2 in Rafah, again according to local authorities. The civil defence also reported more than 10 homes destroyed and accused Israeli forces of summary executions in the killing of 15 rescue workers last month, rejecting the Israeli military's internal probe. Meanwhile, Israeli forces have reportedly rounded up 16 people following a raid in the village of Khobar, north of Ramallah. Those arrested include former prisoner Hanan Barghouti. Meanwhile, a Hamas delegation is headed to Cairo to discuss new proposals for a ceasefire after rejecting Israel's latest initiative, which required Hamas's complete disarmament. The news possible proposal expected to be aimed at securing the release of captives and ending Israel's war on Gaza, since Israel resumed its offensive on March the 18th, ending a 2-month ceasefire. At least 1,864 Palestinians have reportedly died, bringing the total toll since the war began to over 51,200, as per Gaza's health ministry. We stay in the region, and the Israeli military said it most likely intercepted a missile fired from Yemen after sirens went off in several parts of Israel. No injuries or damage were reported, according to Israel's National Ambulance Service. The attack is believed to be part of ongoing missile and drone launches by Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels. The Houthis, who control large portions of Yemen, have been targeting Israel in solidarity with Palestinians amid Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza. This incident reflects the growing regional dimensions of the Gaza conflict, with the Houthis continuing to demonstrate their alignment with Palestinian factions through long-range attacks against Israeli territory. This also continuing as the US resumes military action against the Houthi rebels. Near daily strikes taking place following Houthi attacks on Israel, but also attacks on Red Sea shipping and the Gulf of Aden. Moving on now, and during discussions with Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev in Beijing, Chinese President Xi Jinping remarked that tariffs have damaged the multilateral trading system. He highlighted that trade wars and tariffs disrupt the legitimate rights of all nations, weaken the multilateral framework and affect the global economic order, according to China's state news agency Xinhua. Meanwhile, the White House reported progress in trade talks between the United States and China despite ongoing tensions over tariffs and retaliatory measures. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that the discussions are moving forward positively. She stated, "We're doing very well in respect to a potential trade deal with China." She highlighted that US President Donald Trump and his administration are actively working to set the stage for an agreement. While both nations have imposed retaliatory measures, Leavitt expressed optimism that the situation is evolving in a constructive direction with hopes for a successful deal. The progress came as both sides continue to negotiate terms that could ease economic tensions between the two global powers. Let's hear what Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, has said.
I asked the president about this before coming out here, and he wanted me to share with all of you that we're doing very well in respect to a potential trade deal with China. As I mentioned, there have now been 18 proposals in more than 100 countries around the world who are wanting to make a deal with the United States of America, and the president and the administration are setting the stage for a deal with China. So we feel everyone involved wants to see a trade deal happen, and the ball is moving.
Moving on now, and the International Monetary Fund has sharply downgraded its global growth forecast for 2025 to 2.8%, citing these impacts from President Trump's tariffs. The IMF warned that rising trade tensions and escalating tariffs have significantly slowed economic growth, particularly in the US, which saw its forecast cut by nearly 1%. As trade uncertainty continues, global financial stability risks have increased, with the IMF warning of potential market upheaval. In related news, the Trump administration announced a ban on synthetic food dyes by 2026, aiming to phase out the 8 currently approved artificial dyes, citing health concerns. Meanwhile, the IMF has also revised down its growth forecast for the Eurozone in 2025 to 0.8% as trade disruptions and inflationary pressures weigh on the economy. The IMF's chief economist stressed that the global economy is facing significant challenges in the wake of recent policy shifts. Here is what the IMF chief economist Pierre Olivier has said.
So for the US, we're seeing a pretty significant increase in inflation under the reference forecast. We're seeing headline inflation going to 3%. It was actually 3% last year. We're expecting 3% this year. So in a sense, the disinflation stopped. Before that, we're expecting the inflation will be back at central bank targets, so around 2% for this year. Both of them. I mean, the tariffs are certainly weighing down, but the uncertainty about what trade policy might be in the future, whether in a month, in a week, in 6 months, is also weighing down very heavily. If you're a multinational right now, where to source your product from, where to expand in terms of your markets, you're pausing everything. You're not doing any of these things. So this is actually weighing down. And so bringing back stability, clarity, predictability to the trading system is a first order.
Moving on now, Russian President Vladimir Putin has met with Oman's Sultan Haitham bin Tariq in Moscow to discuss the ongoing Iran nuclear talks. The Kremlin confirmed that the conversation focused on Oman's role as a mediator in these high-stakes discussions. Russia has expressed support for the surprise talks between Washington and Tehran aimed at addressing Iran's nuclear program. Kremlin's spokesperson Dmitry Peskov stated that Russia is ready to contribute fully to ensuring the success of these negotiations. This comes after US President Donald Trump urged Iran to begin negotiations to limit its nuclear weapons development program after he pulled out of the landmark US-Iran nuclear deal during his first term. Here is what the Russian president has had to say.
Министерство иностранных дел, информация проходила наверняка. Мы планируем провести в этом году саммит между Россией и арабскими странами. Многие наши друзья в арабском мире эту идею поддерживают. Если, Ваше Величество, вы найдете время, мы были бы рады вас видеть тоже на этом саммите Лиги арабских государств и России. Продовольственные товары. И, конечно, очень рассчитываем на то, что в области энергетики у нас могут быть сделаны дополнительные шаги. Наши компании проявляют большой интерес к развитию отношений.
That is all that we have time for, but we will continue to bring you more of the latest breaking news from across the world.